Hello everybody and welcome to the National Education Cycle for Global Entrepreneur. Today we're going to talk about supply and demand in international relations. Throughout this, we're going to get to understand the meaning of supply and demand, how to align supply and demand, what are the international relations, and how to do IR. First of all, supply and demand is the amount of the products which is available and the amount which is wanted or demanded by customers. In ISEC, it is the understanding of EPs that can go on exchange to which entities with specific opportunities. We determine the supply and demand of our products normally by two aspects. First, historical analysis and market demand. So by historical analysis, we mean the analysis of the data that happens in the previous terms. And by market demand, we make it the market understanding in which we understand the demand of people when it comes to opportunity. So why supply and demand? So supply and demand will enable us to have three main elements. First of all, focus. Second of all, speed. And finally, reliability. So when it comes to focus, it will allow us to understand which entities to focus on which time, which means that we're going to be promoting opportunities for the right people at the right time. When it comes to speed, our customers like fast and reliable process. So having specific entities to rely on them will help us in terms of achieving this fast process, in terms of creating the third point, which is reliability. So customers who experience fast process with the right opportunity tend to be people who speaks about the brand and who are having a reliability in terms of the brand. That means that these people can go back to ISEC and can go to another exchange at some point. So now let's talk a little bit about international relations. So international relations are all the activities and strategies any entity are running to develop a partnership with another entity. Since a simple meeting in an international conference tells the seeder we send to our partners. But how can I know my partners? So for you to have a good IR plan, you cannot run all the corporation in the same way. They have different realities, different markets, and with different needs. That is, we will go through this model to understand what is the best cooperation plan. So first of all, when it comes to any partnership, we need to understand two main aspects. The first of all is supply, and the second of all is market readiness. So if we have a high supply and a high market readiness, we can have a high supply and a low market readiness. We can have low supply and high market readiness, and finally we can have both of them low when it comes to supply and market readiness. So if we have high supply and high market readiness, that means that there are customers interested in a certain entity, and the ISEC entity has the resources and preparation to work as a corporation. If we have high supply and low market readiness, that means there is not a lot of customers naturally that can apply to certain opportunities. But the opportunities or the ISEC entity has the resources and preparation to work as a corporation. When it comes to low supply and high market readiness, there are customers interested in a certain entity, but ISEC entity hasn't invested a lot or effort in the corporation. And finally, we have low supply and low market readiness. These means that there are no customers interested in the entity, and the ISEC entity hasn't invested neither nor has the resources to invest in the corporation. So when it comes to all these four types of understanding the market, you can give you like four main elements when it comes to the part. So first of all, when it comes to high supply and high market readiness, we are talking about upscale. When it comes to upscale, we are talking about in a relationship or partnership that needs to be upscale because there is a high supply and high market readiness. When it comes to high supply and low market readiness, that means that these entities or like this partnership need a kind of bit of investing when it comes to raising opportunities for the right profiles that we have. When it comes to low supply and high market readiness, we are talking here about growth. We have the foundation or the opportunities for people to apply to them, but we still don't have the matching profile to these opportunities, which means we need to grow in terms of acquiring the people or acquiring the talent for people to go to this opportunity. And finally, low supply and low market readiness. Here we are talking about understanding the partnership because, to be honest, there is no market readiness or there is no opportunities for these people, and even the people that we are trying to send for these opportunities don't exist. So in here, we need to understand a little bit about the market readiness of the entity that we have as a partner, and we need to have understanding about our market and our supply as a provider. So when it comes to upscale, this kind of corporation has a lot of potential to grow. That means that we need to invest in terms of information, and in terms of creating an understanding of the network, and in terms of creating a sense of communication that needs to be continuous. Example of investments: leadership, attending national conferences for each other, Facebook ads, and maybe establishing a constant routine and reporting. When it comes to grow, most probably this is a corporation that has been growing at the last peak, naturally, of the market demands. What you have to do here is educate the network on what they need to do in order for them to have the supply for the demand that we have. Prepare and in a good pace to push for corporation. Here, examples, we can have leadership, education of the network, corporation meetings, R&R, internal comms campaign. And for invest, for this corporation, this is extremely important to understand if, with some efforts, the market, the APs and the partners will get interested in the profiles of our entity. That means the focus is more external on attraction. Example of investment: marketing campaigns, Facebook ads, sales, education about the partners. And here, when it comes to understand, as this is probably a new corporation, something that hasn't existed a lot, and it's generating a little bit of interest when it comes to the opportunities that we have. Here, we need to have an understanding about what supply can we have to these main opportunities. Example of investments: Facebook ads and cooperation meetings. And here we need to create a foundation for this partnership to be created. That means the opportunities that we need to have at some point, and the supply for these opportunities that we need to have. So international relation process has 3 types to make or create a successful IR plan. So first, build; second, deliver; and third, enrich. Each one of them has an important steps to create as a process. Set a clear routine with our partners that both of us are comfortable with. But most important part in this model for corporation to be successful is to have a constant and fast communication. So when it comes to build, we need to analyze and define our partners. When it comes to deliver, we need to have a partnership development model that can create or set a pace for development, promotional materials, and partnership tracking. And finally, enrich. When it comes to enrich, we are talking about partnership enhancements by creating analysis and by understanding the bottlenecks that we have in each partnership in order for us to create more and to understand it more and to enrich the partnership. And of course, the highlight of everything is the actual communication that needs to be a fluent communication and a constant communication that can help us into understanding each aspect of an element of the partnership. So finally, when it comes to analyze, we need to analyze the main contribution for realization. When it comes to defining partners, we need to define which entity and exactly which LC that we're going to work with it and why. But that means the purpose of why we are working with these people. And finally, we need to set a partnership goal that is going to be something that is easily trackable in order for us to understand the partnership, in order for us to understand how the partnership is going made. So when it comes to partnership development, we need to understand our persona. By our persona, we mean the customers that we have that we need to send for these people, we need to send for the opportunities so that we can match the supply and demand. We need to have an understanding also about the timeline between the 2 entities so that we can work on a pace that is good for both of us. And more, we need to understand about a realization goal. That means that a goal that not mainly approvals, but actual expenses that's going to happen between the 2 entities. And when it comes to the faster index, we are talking about approvals process, and we are talking about process time. We are talking about a lot of things that's going to determine if the relationship or the partnership is successful or not. And finally, better, when it comes to experience delivery, we need to frame the co-delivery between the 2 entities so that we can overcome every and each problem that is going to be happening inside the experience. And finally, sustainability when it comes to pricing strategies and investments when it comes to the experiences. So for the promotional materials, we need physical marketing, content and frequency of this content, and digital marketing when it comes to content again, and the frequency that this content is collected. Partnership tracking, and here we need a certain tools that's gonna make it easier for us to track the partnership. And mainly when it comes to partnership, we need to track the numbers of applied, the conversion rate of applied to accepted, the conversion rate accepted to approved, process time, and from applied to accepted. And communication channels, here we can choose any communication channels that we can have as long as both of us we are understanding it and we are accepting to use this channel. For example, we can have WhatsApp, we can have Messenger, we can have Telegram, we can have WeChat, etc. Anything that can help us in terms of understanding the communication that's going to go between the two partnerships. And finally, enrich. And here we are talking about partnership investment. We are talking about weekly reviews, partnership channels, and future investments. So this has been it, mainly when it comes to understanding the supply and demand, to understanding international relations. Thank you so much for being with us today, and see you next in the next subject of national education cycle.